All right. So problem one includes a triangular prism. And when I'm thinking of these triangular prisms, I want to kind of think of unfolding them almost. And so it was 6. The height of that was 4. It's 12 going back. And then this side was 5. Okay. And if I unfold them, it kind of looks like this. And this is still going to be 6. This is still going to be 12. This is still going to be 5, and this will be 5, and this will be 12, and this will be 12, and this will be 12, and this is 5, and this is 5, and this side 6. And the height of these is still going to be 4. Okay? Now, from there, I want to figure out the area of all the parts and add them together. First, I want to do the triangles. I know the triangle, the formula is going to be 1/2 of base times height. And so I know that the triangle formula is 1/2 of 6 times 4. And I know that that's going to equal 12. Now, there's 2 triangles, so I'm going to times that by 2. So I know that the triangles, the bases, are 24 millimeters squared. And it's area, so it's squared. Then I have 3 rectangles. 2 of them are the same. The first type of rectangle is 5 by 12. This side and then this side. And that's going to be base times height. And that's going to be 12 times 5. And that's going to be equal to 60. There's 2 of those. So I'm going to times that by 2 to get 120 millimeters squared. Last but not least, I have this center rectangle, and it's a little different. It is 6 by 12. Again, that's going to be base times height. And then that's going to be 12 times 6, and that's going to be 72 millimeters squared. Now, I just have to add all the parts up, so I have all of the areas together, which would be the surface area. So I take 120 plus 24 plus 72, add them all up, 6, 11, 216 millimeters squared is what I got for that first practice problem. This is practice problem number 1. You should look at your work from yesterday. You should see if you're doing it the right way. You should see what mistakes you are or are not making. All right. You want to make sure you can show your work in a reasonable fashion as well. Okay. All right. So for practice problem number 2, we had a rectangular prism. I can consider unfolding it, but that confuses me a little bit. I know that there are 6 faces for a rectangular prism. I know that with this being a 90-degree rectangular prism, that the opposite sides are going to be the same. So this front side right here is 14 by 8. 14 times 8, and that's going to be the front and the back. Okay? So that's going to be 112. Done that right? 2, 3. Yes. But then that's the front. And then I need to times it by 2 to get the front and the back. So it would be 224. And that's inches squared. And that's the front and the back. The bottom and the top are going to be 14 by 3. So bottom and top, 14 by 3. And that's going to be 42. Times that by 2, because there's 2 of them. So it's going to be 84 inches squared. Then the last one's going to be the left side and the right side. And so if it's 8 here, it's going to be 8 here. And so it's 8 by 3. So the left and the right. And so that's going to be 8 by 3, which is 24, times it by 2 to get both parts. And that's going to be 48 inches squared. Last thing we need to do is we need to add them all together. 224, 84, 48, 16, 10, 15, 356 inches squared is what I got for practice problem number 2. All right, practice problem number 3 is a triangular prism. So kind of like last time, I kind of considered unfolding it. I know that this side is 6.1 times 13, and then the other side is 6.1 times 13. I know the bottom is 7 times 13. I know the triangle is 5 times 7 times 1/2, all right? And so first I do the triangle bases, and so that's 1/2 base times height, 1/2 7 times 5, which is going to be, let's see here, 35 times 1/2 is going to be 17.5. Times it by 2, though. And so I get 35 centimeters squared for the bases. Then I have on this one the two rectangles that are the same. They're the 6.1 times, flip that around, 6.1 times 13. We have base times height. We have 13 times 6.1. Let's see here. 13 times 6.1. 310 18 6 783 9 7. I get 79.3. And then there's two of those. And so I'm going to get 6, 18, 15, one decimal place, and I'm going to get 158.6 centimeters squared. Then for the base, the bottom one right here is 7 times 13. And so for that one, we have 7 times 13, and there's one of those. And so that's the base times the height. And then that's 13 times 7. And that's 91 centimeters squared. Now I've got to add those parts together. So I've got to take 158.6 plus 91 and 35. When I add those together, I get 14, 10, 18, and 284.6 centimeters squared is the surface area of this triangular prism. All right, so here we have practice problem number 4. It's a rectangular prism. So once again, the opposite sides are the same. So if I look right here, this front face is 3 times 10. And so the front and the back are going to be base times height, or 10 times 3, or 30. And there's two of them, so times it by 2. So 60, and this is yards squared for the front and the back. The top and the bottom is 10 times 7 for the bottom. And so the top is going to be the same. So we have the bottom and the top. And that's going to be base times height, or 10 times 7, or 70 times 2 to get the bottom and the top. So we'd have 140 yards squared. Then we need to do the left and the right. And so we have 7 here. And this is 3 because it's going to be 3 all the way around. And so left and right. And I'm just giving these arbitrary names. Arbitrary names. That means that's a fancy way of saying I'm just giving these names so I can kind of reference them. And so if I do it the same way every time, I'm going to be clear. So if you want to do this slightly differently, that's fine. You just need to have some way to show your work where it's relatively clear on what you were doing. 12 and 42 yards squared. And then the most important part, I guess, is to take all of my areas and add them together so that I get 242 yards squared is the surface area for this rectangular prism. Okay, so we're finding the areas of all the parts and we're adding them all together. That was practice problem number 4. All right, so now we're on practice problem number 5. I've drawn a very crude sketch of it. We have a rectangular prism again. It's 11, and the opposite side's 11. It's 6, the opposite side's 6, and then 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, the front and the back is 4 times 11, or 11 times 4, base times height, and that's going to be 44. Times it by 2 to get the front and the back, and so that would be 88 yards squared. Top and the bottom is 11 by 6, so that's going to be 66 times 2 to get the top and the bottom, and we're going to have 132 yards squared. Then we'll do the left and the right, and so this is 4, so this is going to be 4, so this is going to be 4 times 6, which is 24, times it by 2 to get the left and the right, which is going to be 48 yards squared. Last, I have to take these 3 and add them together. So we have 88 plus 132 plus 48. And then we're going to get 13, 16. I get 268 yards squared is the surface area for practice problem number 5 from yesterday. Okay, one moment. Last. All right, so for practice problem number 6, we have a triangular prism. First, we can figure out the triangle or the bases. And so for the triangles, I know the formula is 1/2 of the base times the height. I know that it is 1/2 of 2 times 6 because the base and the height are perpendicular. And so then I know that that is going to be equal to 6, but times it by 2 because there's a front and a back, or there are 2 bases. And so that's going to be 12 centimeters squared. Okay. Now, with that triangular prism, there's the 2 triangular bases, and then there are 3 rectangular faces. Okay, and if I look at this picture carefully, I can see what the dimensions of all of them are. If this is 9 on this side, then it's going to be 9 on the opposite side as well. And so usually both of these, the opposite 2 that are up, are the same. And so they're both 7 times 9. And so both of these are 7 by 9. And so for that, it's the base times the height, and that's 9 times 7, or 7 times 9, and that's 63. But then there's 2 of them. There's the one on this side, and then there's the one on the other side. And so I can multiply them by 2 there, and I get 126 centimeters squared. Last, I have the third one, which is the bottom, and the bottom rectangle is different usually, and it's 2 times 9. And so that one is 2 times 9, and that's base times height again, or 9 times 2, or 18. And then that I don't have to double because there's just the one of those. Okay. Last thing I need to do is I need to make sure that I'm taking all of them and I'm adding them together to get 156 centimeters squared. Okay, and so I should be seeing work similar to this, or whatever, or I think that it was Mrs. Bachhoven was showing you in the video yesterday. We need to be seeing work that goes along with what you've done. I shouldn't just see answers put in there, final answers put in there. I should see that you are figuring this out and that you understand it. All right, and that's your practice problems from yesterday, and now you're going to do similar work for today.